Chapter 2, The Pool of Tears. Curiouser and curiouser, Alice said. She was now growing toward the ceiling. Goodbye, feet, she added. She could barely see them anymore. Oh, my poor little feet. I wonder who will put on your shoes and socks now. Alice kept growing. She wondered how she would get a new pair of shoes to her feet now that she could no longer reach them. They were so very far away that she decided she would have to mail them. As she thought this, her head hit the ceiling. She was more than 9 feet tall. She quickly grabbed the golden key and hurried for the garden door. Poor Alice! She was far too huge to fit through it now. All she could do was lie down and peek into the garden with one eye. Of course, she began to cry again. You should be ashamed, she scolded herself. A big girl like you crying this way. It didn't help. She kept crying, shedding gallons of tears. Soon there was a large pool on the floor. It was about 4 inches deep and reached halfway down the hall. Then she heard footsteps. It was the White Rabbit. He had dressed up in a fancy suit and was carrying white gloves and a large fan. As he hurried along, he muttered, Oh, the Duchess! She'll be awful if I keep her waiting. If you please, sir, Alice called to him. The rabbit jumped at her voice. In fact, he was so startled, he dropped his fan and gloves and then ran away, leaving them behind. Alice picked up the fan and the white gloves. The hallway was so very hot. She started to fan her face, talking to herself as she did. How strange everything is today. I wonder if I was changed in the night. Let me think. Was I the same when I got up this morning? I think I remember feeling a little different. But if I'm not me, the next question is, who in the world am I? That's the puzzle. She thought about all the other children she knew. She couldn't be Ada because Ada's hair was curly. She couldn't be Mabel because she knew lots of things and Mabel knew very little. Besides, Alice said, she's she and I'm I. Oh, how confusing. I should see if I know all the things I used to know. Let's see. 4 times 5 is 12, and 4 times 6 is 13, and 4 times 7 is, oh dear, I'll never get to 20 that way. Let's try geography. London is the capital of Paris, and Paris is the capital of Rome. No, that's wrong. I must be Mabel. She tried to recite a poem she knew, but her voice sounded rough and strange in her throat, and the words came out all wrong. Alice's eyes filled with tears again. If I'm Mabel, I'll stay down here forever, she said. As she said this, she noticed she was wearing one of the rabbit's gloves. She must have put it on while she was talking. How did I do that? She said. The glove had been far too small. I must be shrinking again. Alice returned to the table. She guessed she was about 2 feet high and getting smaller. She realized that must be the fan she was using to cool herself. Alice dropped the fan in a flash. She was just in time to save herself from shrinking away to nothing. That was a narrow escape, Alice said. She was quite relieved to see that she was still there. She ran for the garden door, but it was locked again. The golden key was back on the table. Things are worse than ever, Alice thought. I've never been this small before, never. Suddenly, her foot slipped and there was a splash. She was up to her chin in salt water. At first, she assumed she'd fallen into the sea. Then she realized it was the pool of tears she'd cried when she was 9 feet tall. Alice swam around looking for a way out. I shall be punished for crying so much, she said. I'll be drowned in my own tears. Something splashed nearby. At first glance, she thought it was a walrus or a hippo. Then she realized it was only a mouse. Everything was so strange down here. It wouldn't be strange at all if the mouse could talk. She spoke to it first. Oh, mouse, she called. She thought this must be the proper way to call a mouse. Oh, mouse, do you know the way out? The mouse met her eyes, but he did not reply. He must not understand English, Alice thought. Maybe he's a French mouse. So she called, Où est mes chat? That was the first sentence in her French book. She forgot until she said the words that meant, Where is my cat? The mouse leaped out of the water in fright. I beg your pardon, Alice cried. I forgot you don't like cats. Not like cats, the mouse said in a shrill voice. Would you like cats if you were me? Maybe not, Alice said. Please don't be angry. I wish I could show you our cat, Dinah. I think you'd like cats if you saw her. She is such a sweet, quiet little thing. Alice kept talking as she swam. She purrs, and she's so soft. And she's just terrific at catching mice. Oh, I'm sorry. The mouse looked especially offended. We won't talk about Dinah if you'd rather not. We, indeed, the mouse cried. He was trembling. As if I would talk about them. Cats, nasty things. Don't let me hear the word again. I won't, Alice promised. She tried to think of something else to talk about. Are you fond of dogs? The mouse started to swim away. Oh, I've offended him again, Alice said. She called after him, Mouse, please come back. We won't talk about cats, or dogs either. The mouse paddled back to her. His furry face had turned very pale. Let's find the shore, he told her, and then I will tell you the story of why I hate cats and dogs. This seemed like a good idea to Alice. The pool had become very crowded with animals that had fallen in. She saw a dodo and a lory and many other creatures. Together, everyone swam to the shore. End of chapter 2.